This reading strategy is called Semantic Maps. It can be used in any type of reading classroom with any type of reading book. I chose to do it in an art classroom, and the book I chose is Getting to Know the World Famous Artist Pablo Picasso. It's by Mike Venzia, and it's presented by me, Haley Ruby. Semantic maps are basically just webs of words. We make these so that students can make connections between words or phrases or a set of related words and concepts. They're basically just graphic organizers. They really help students, especially the struggling students and those with disabilities, to identify, understand, and recall the meanings of words as they read. It helps students do several things. First, it helps them to activate and organize knowledge. It helps them to identify it and remember new words. It helps them to draw upon their current knowledge, firmly planning the new word. It helps learn new words and build background knowledge. And as you build the background knowledge, it really builds the student's confidence. And as you build their student confidence, they feel like they know the subject. And when they know the subject, they are on solid ground with that subject, and they can be ready to explore a new territory in another subject. It works because researchers tell us that knowledge is stored in our brain in groups. Words in your memory are linked together in relationships. If you connect a new word with a word that you already know, you'll be able to better remember that word. The first thing you'd want to do in your procedures is you would select the main idea and topic, whatever it may be. Go ahead and write it on the board or your chart, or you can find a computer program that has a word web already set up and you just plug in the information. Write it on the board is what I would do, and then circle it. And then you'd have the students brainstorm some different ideas with subtopics related to that main topic that you've already circled on the board. Take all the ones that are good and write them on the board and kind of help them come up with their ideas. Then have students brainstorm specific ideas related to those subtopics and write them underneath. After you figure out what they know before you read the text, now it's time for them to really listen, pay attention, and while you're reading the text, they find new knowledge to add to the map when you get through. So it will reflect their new knowledge when you finish. The students should be able to do many things when you're discussing your main topic in your class, such as ask questions, make comments. They should be able to make predictions about what they think the text is about or what they think that the main idea is about. They should be able to, as you're reading, clarify misunderstandings. Let's say they predicted something and it was wrong, and they pick it up as you read and fix their mistake. They make relationships between two subjects or two texts or anything like that. They, at the end, should be able to summarize what they just listened to you read and make generalizations. When would we use this reading strategy? We would use it before, during, and after a text. Before, you would use it just to kind of get them thinking, activate that prior knowledge, and get them to start making predictions about what you're going to read and what the main topic is about. During the reading, again, they're going to clarify things that they didn't really understand or understand better. And they're also going to make those relationships where you relate yourself to the text that you're reading, relate yourself to the world experiences. And then after you read, they're going to add the new knowledge to the chart. You'll summarize, agree or disagree, and then identify main ideas. Like I said, I chose Getting to Know the World Famous Artist Pablo Picasso. This book is really, really awesome. And the author, Michael Venzia, has a whole set of these books. So if you want to use them with different artists, you can kind of look up what he has. I think there's like 40 of them or something, but they're all really awesome. I love them because they're entertaining, they're funny. They actually have the real paintings inside the book, and the author has made like silly illustrations and a storyline going in the pictures the whole time. So the students are really engaged the whole time because they can look at the illustrations And I also like to, as I read, point out the artist's real paintings that they did and show them exactly what their style is like. In this instant, I would show them Picasso's style and what his style was like, and I'll hit his different paintings. The summary of the book, it basically just talks about Picasso's history. It talks about how his painting style changed more than any of the other artists. He was always trying something new. He had a bunch of different periods that he painted in. He had the blue period when he was sad and the rose period when he was happy. He invented cubism, which is just paintings that look like they're broken up into cubes. He painted many abstract paintings of people's faces. And it just talks about how he did so many things like sculpture, painting, prints, drawing, and other stuff. Using the semantic map with the book on Pablo Picasso, before reading the book, I would make sure that the students knew some things about Pablo Picasso, whether I talked about them in the class period the day before, or maybe they did another project with me on Pablo Picasso, or make sure that they've done something with Pablo in the past, just to be familiar that they know something about his work of art. I would ask the students what their favorite artists are and why, and I would have them explain to me what makes a great artist. And then I would tell them that we were reading a book on Pablo Picasso, and I would want them to pay special attention to his life and to his art throughout the book, because they're gonna do a project using some of his techniques, and that it's important to know his life history. So the first thing I would do with doing a semantic map of Pablo, I would write his name on the board or on a chart and circle it. I'd have all the students brainstorm everything they knew about Pablo Picasso in the past and kind of guide them and help them write subtopics around his name. Then you leave enough room so you can put other ideas and details under the subtopics, but go ahead and circle them and just make sure you do like a really large circle. Have the students then brainstorm specific ideas related to the subtopics, and then have them record those underneath the subtopics. I would read the text out loud to the students and remind them to pay special attention. So at the end, we can add all that new knowledge to our semantic map. Here's just an example of a semantic map of Pablo Picasso that I've kind of made up. I put his name in the middle and I circled it. I came up with maybe his history, parts of his life, such as he was born in Spain, he died in France. Another subtopic was interesting facts like the blue and the rose period and how his style always changed and how he was named after the saints and relatives. The type of art always changing, and some of his famous works of art, which is the Guernica, Three Musicians, and the Old Guitarist. An example of what I would do kind of during the text and after is I'd read the text aloud, and then I would get the students to add the information during and after to reflect new knowledge. Sometimes it's important to stop when you're reading that text and just go ahead and write down on your map some of the new knowledge learned, because sometimes we'll forget it by the end of the text, so I sometimes will do that. Then I would explain that it's important to learn about the art history and techniques so we can be inspired by them to create our own art. Then I would present an art project to be completed inspired by Pablo Picasso after we finish the semantic map. I really like this one. I've actually done this with my kids before. This is not my picture of what I did, but you take a block and then you you put a hanger down in it. You open up the hanger and you put the hanger down in the block, and you take a pair of pantyhose and you wrap it around the hanger, and then you put something hard on it to make it harden. I can't remember what it was, and then you paint over it, and it makes just a really cool Pablo Picasso mask. And I think those turned out really nicely. And then the next day, the next time you're talking about Pablo Picasso and starting this art project, you can talk about that semantic map and see what the kids remembered from doing the semantic map about the artist. And then my references was Vinzia Michael, Getting to Know the World's Famous Artist, Pablo Picasso.